And showtime. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the ChannelPro 5-Minute Roundup. Look at news, trends, and tips for the SMB channel in 5 minutes or thereabouts. My name is Rich Freeman. I'm executive editor of the ChannelPro Network, also a co-host of this program. I am joined this week, as I am every week, by your other co-host, Eric Simpson, a business transformation and improvement advisor to MSPs and other IT providers. Eric, you're looking sharp today. How's it going?
Going great, Rich. Yep. Today is webinar day, so I got to bring it. And little drizzly out here in Southern California the last day or so. So maybe getting a little bit of what weather you're used to more than we are down here.
And
How about
vice
you?
versa. Vice
Yeah.
versa. It's mid-October here. It normally, it's pretty cool. We're probably going to hit 70, and it is cloudless sky out in Seattle right now. So don't worry, you'll get your sunshine back soon enough, and I'll get my rain back, I'm sure, as well.
Very well.
Well, let's dive into our story of the week here, and it comes to us from a familiar name in the channel, Auvik. Now, Auvik is a company that you probably associate with what has been their mainstay, their core business since they came out into business, which is network management. Now, about 15 months ago, last summer, they got a $250 million investment from a private equity firm, and they have been investing that money ever since. In April, they purchased a Wi-Fi networking company called MetaGeek, and this week they announced that they have purchased two more companies, both on the same day. One's called Saaslio, and the other's called Boardgent. Now, Boardgent is pretty new to me. It is a remote desktop support, remote security kind of tool. It feels, from my perspective, knowing what I know about it now, kind of like an RMM light. Saaslio, I know a little bit more about. That is a cloud management and security system. It basically does software as a service discovery. You can kind of send it into an end user environment. It will find all the SaaS applications in use there. It'll look for security vulnerabilities. There are some other management features in there. So what is the big picture here? Well, you've got a company, Auvik, that specialized for years in network management. The networking landscape has changed a lot in the last couple of years. A lot of what businesses do happens beyond the firewall, obviously at home, on the road, wherever. And so Auvik is looking beyond the firewall as well. They actually told me, without getting too specific about it, a few months back, that they're really looking to manage and protect the entire connection path between that traditional on-prem network and the cloud on the one hand, and an endpoint on the other. And that's what they've taken a giant step forward towards doing this week. So Saaslio adds that cloud connection piece of the management picture to the story. Boardgent adds more of that endpoint management piece into the picture. And what you wind up with is kind of an interesting tool set, a suite. At a time when, as we were discussing last week, traditional RMM and PSA BDR vendors like Enable are expanding into cloud management. Kaseya is expanding into cloud and IoT as well. You've got GoTo, a company we probably haven't spoken about on the podcast here, but they have an RMM tool these days as well. They're pairing it up with a unified communications platform, which is a different kind of interesting way to get into managed services. And now you've got Auvik with cloud management, network management, endpoint management, Wi-Fi management, all in one portfolio that I assume will be increasingly integrated over time, offering another suite of tools for getting into managed services. So interesting development, another kind of player out there on the managed services landscape, Eric.
Yeah, competition is heating up for the cloud business, Rich. And this is, I think, reflective of Auvik, reaching higher levels of maturity over time, right? Meeting the needs of their partners and their partners' customers and evolving as those needs are changing, as we have been discussing at some length on many episodes of the show. So I think we're starting to see this, migration of traditional on-prem vendors to meet those cloud workload needs and the migration to the cloud. And boy, I picture in my mind, Rich, if I close my eyes for a second, I picture a future where there are more cloud workloads and cloud platforms supporting business owners today than infrastructure, equipment, and hardware. I think I think that's going to happen. I don't know if we'll see it, completely tip in my lifetime, to the majority, but I don't know. Who knows? Feels close.
And it'll depend a lot on the size of the business that you're talking about. For a very, very small business, we might already be there where there really
Right.
isn't a point in having any on-prem infrastructure beyond a laptop and some, a router or what have you. But
Right.
yeah, we are definitely heading in the direction rapidly where more and more of the workloads aren't on-prem anymore. They don't need to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, the 20 user and below, uh, SMB customer, like you say, might already be there.
Well, there are certainly no shortage of tools out there MSPs can use to support those customers, regardless of how much of their work is being done in the cloud versus on-prem. And as long as we're talking about RMM a little bit here, Eric, that's kind of a nice lead into your tip of the week.
Absolutely, Rich. Great tee up there. So, bold statement, you're using your RMM tool for cybersecurity all wrong. And what I mean by that, Rich, is I think that, we as human beings, after, getting accustomed to something, it loses its newness. It loses, some of the maybe perceived value over time. And I'm talking specifically about the RMM tools that really are the backbone of what the majority of MSPs consider the required tool to have in order to be considered an MSP, right? You've got the RMM, you've got the PSA, you've got documentation and other things, but really that RMM tool is the key to help monitor, manage, patch, and update things on a day-to-day basis. And I think that a lot of partners that I work with kind of perceive the RMM tool as something that's there that is more kind of infrastructure management and things like that, and are missing the opportunity to really optimize and configure it to prioritize security related incidents and alerts and prioritize the remediation of those. And beyond that, Rich, to report on them and use those reports and customize those reports to flavor cybersecurity and even brand them and name them that way and use them to reinforce the value that they're delivering in maintaining and strengthening the cybersecurity posture of their existing clients, as well as using those as sales tools, leading sales conversations for new prospects with the idea that cybersecurity comes first. So I think that there's an opportunity that's being missed there. And in addition, if we're not reporting and analyzing those reports and charging our clients for it, this is kind of tip 1.2 on today's discussion, leveraging those reports to add more value, but also to get paid for the analysis and the assessment of those reports. I think a lot of partners kind of forget that it takes labor hours to really assess what's going on and looking at trends and then tweaking and tuning things from the RMM solution, or haven't figured out how to charge for it. And I'm sitting here now saying, look, any analysis and assessment that you do and anything that you include with your bundles, you have to calculate labor hours into that above and beyond what you're charging a per user price to deliver service on the service desk. That is one part of the entire value that you deliver. So if you're spending 2 hours a month per client doing the assessment, you should be charging for that. Or if you're not charging for it, I'll bet you're probably not spending the time that you should be in identifying these things, etc. And maybe 1.3, Rich, if you're doing all these things, you'll be discovering devices and other things in the environment that you may not be billing for. So this also allows you the opportunity to true up, as you should be doing on a monthly basis.
It's interesting, particularly with the first point you were making. You reminded me of the time, late 2020, early 2021, I think, when Datto came out with its very first dedicated security product. And a number of folks in the media, myself included, said, hey, Datto is getting into security now. And they were very quick to correct me and say, well, we were actually already there because we have an RMM product and it does patch management. And patch management is very much part of the security picture. BDR obviously is as well. But to your point, the RMM platform is a security tool. And I mean, it really is important for MSPs to be not only using it that way, but thinking of it that way.
Absolutely.
Well, folks, that leaves us time for just one more story this week. And I've got some bad news for you. If you like the idea of casting a ballot in the USA Mullet Championships, you are just a little bit too late. Because voting concluded at 11:59 p.m. On Tuesday. What was that, October 11th? So the voting is complete. The winner will be announced October 20th. Right now, the guy atop the leaderboard is named Scott Salvador of Stillwater, New York. He is 34 years old. He has got a mullet that he's got a name for it, Eric. He calls it the Lord's Drapes. And he's one of 25 finalists. He's the leader going into the final balloting. He's been growing that thing for 4.5 years. He is competing for $2,500 worth of prize money, and we're going to find out next week whether he wins it or somebody else.
Well, you know, naming it and taking such care, I'm sure that $2,500 prize money, should he win, will help him keep up with the product that he's going to need to keep his coif in such good shape.
Yeah, you know, so $2,500 worth of business up front and then $2,500 worth of partying in the back. Well done, Scott, or whoever wins this competition.
Yeah, you know, Rich, I shared with you before we went on live today that I did rock a mullet myself back in the late 80s, early 90s. And yeah, it was the thing to do back then. But now I'm not sure that it's perceived as having the same attraction and value as it might have back then.
Which is why Eric relentlessly tracks down every photograph that exists of him at that time and shreds it up. He doesn't want those getting back out into the wild.
Yep. None of that stuff. Moving forward only.
Well, folks, that is all the time we've got for you this week. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to be back with another show next week. You know what? We are both a video and a podcast these days. So if you happen to be watching us on video, but you like podcasts, go to wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google, Apple, you name it. You're going to find us there. Please subscribe, rate, review. It'll help other people find the program. We would very much appreciate it. If you're listening to the podcast right now, but you're curious to check out whether or not either of us has a mullet, thing to do is go to YouTube, look for the ChannelPro Network channel there. Again, you can become a subscriber. If you click the little bell icon, you'll also get notified when new episodes of this show become available. If you want to read more about Auvik and its acquisition of Saaslio and Boardgent, or if you just want to get great business growth advice for your company on a daily basis, please visit ChannelProNetwork.com. Great new stuff going up for you there every day. To learn more about Eric and the work he does with his clients, you should visit ErickSimpson.com. That is ERICK Simpson.com. Once again, we thank you very much for joining us. We're going to see you again a week from now. Until then, folks, please enjoy the rest of your week. Eric and I are enjoying the rest of your week already.